brought to you by SMART, bringing people together, and the Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Sabrina Daly.
And I am Isani Caetano. Good morning.
And hello, Isani. How are you doing?
I'm good, and you?
I am incredibly under the weather. I've been, for most of last week, I won't lie, just opening, I wanted to cough and I'm holding it in. But I'm so happy to be here.
We have the prescription for that.
Excuse me. Yes?
Yes. My grandmother would say that you need to have a strong dose of shark oil.
Something at this point. I can't even describe the amount of home remedies I came up with over the weekend. I've been eating garlic like tablets.
Yeah.
But I'm making slow progress. I know though that there's a lot of people that are currently also suffering from the flu. We had a couple staff members here as well.
Yeah.
So for people who might not know or who aren't aware, the flu is definitely going around. So try to use that extra sanitizer, wash your hands, social distance, just to stay away from it. But we have quite a few topics to jump into. Nonetheless, Hisani, I know starting things off, what has been trending both online and in the news as of yesterday and over the weekend was a bit of violence that took place as it relates at the Orange Walk Carnival. One of them, interestingly enough, had to do with sort of an assault on the Commissioner of Police. Oh yes, we do want to go into we keep on forgetting it, Sunny, and that comes with improvement, of course, but get a load of our What's Buzzing bumper is what we call it. So we're going to be introducing our What's Buzzing topics in this way, and then we transition into our conversations.
Yes, but as you were saying, Sabrina, so I think when you have this mass of humanity descending on any location. A few weeks ago, it was here in Belize City where we had the annual Carnival Road March. Over the weekend, it was in Orange Walk where you had the 21st Carnival, the Orange Walk Carnival. When you have, this many people or this crush of people in one location, you will have, little brushes here and there. I say a little, I hope I'm not downplaying it. In one instance, it ended tragically for one family whose loved one was stabbed to death. But it's to say this, what completely floored me yesterday, and perhaps rightly so, there was an assault on the Commissioner of Police who was apparently not dressed in his usual uniform, his regalia, as I would call it, right? He was perhaps in civilian attire. Nonetheless, he was there at the carnival and he was sort of guiding the flow of things when he came across an individual who was public drinking, essentially. And so the commissioner approached the individual and, well, this is the individual and his attorney after he was arraigned yesterday. But the commissioner approached the individual and, demanded the bottle from him because, as I mentioned, he was public drinking.
Yes.
So this individual proceeded to shove the compul's hand, right? Which I believe is tantamount to a common assault. But what I found particularly interesting is that the court proceeding when this individual was arraigned, Attorney Leroy Banner told the court, well, this individual who's Belizean American did not know that the person he was reacting to physically was indeed the Commissioner of Police. Now, I don't know that that buys any excuse or what have you, right? But it's simply to say that over the course of the weekend, a number of incidents took place around the festivities. And there's only so much the police department can do, in a sense, to maintain order. I understand that in Keycocker over the weekend, another police officer was physically assaulted by a civilian. And when people are drinking and socializing and what have you, they tend to get unruly, right? And so it's the charge of the officers to ensure that, you know, you're not breaking the law, that, you know, there's some sense of order in what's taking place at these events. And it's unfortunate that in Orange Walk, as I alluded to earlier, there were multiple incidents where people were fighting, brawling, and what have you. And in one instance, it ended in the death of Alwyn Arnold.
I looked at the footage just when you were talking about the incident in Orange Walk, and I see the person exiting the court in jovial spirits, so to speak, and you know, it really takes me to wondering perhaps what is probably going through his mind. He looks nothing like someone that is concerned about assaulting the commissioner of police. And really, I'm making light of something that is also not light. You know, Isani, we're talking about instances of assaulting our law enforcement officers, in this case, the highest in command. And interestingly, we are also going to have him on set this morning in our first segment, talking about a range of different topics related to law enforcement here in Belize. I think, though, what I really wanted to touch on was alcohol consumption and when abused, the things that it can lead to. Of course, as you mentioned initially, Isani, there was a fatal injury, and I imagine alcohol consumption was also a part of that. Whenever we're having these events, we have to be mindful that if you are not careful when it comes to consuming these alcohol, you can either be in situations where emotions are high and it leads to altercations. You can be in fatal injuries due to accidents as well. And that's one of the topics that we also touched on, if you would have remembered, Isani, when we were anticipating our Belize City Carnival. One of the things that the law enforcement officers mentioned to us while on set was that persons would be prohibited to consume alcohol in glass bottles. I don't know if that was the case, why the commissioner would have tapped on this individual here, but that is something that is heavily prohibited. I mean, if you even think about it, you shouldn't even be consuming alcohol publicly, but because of the carnival situation, it was allowed, but simply prohibited in glass bottles because they can be used as weapons. Of course, I think in general, we need to be looking at the broader picture here, which is what alcohol consumption can lead to if abused as well.
Well, on Friday, if I'm not mistaken, I was in the downtown area, and there were representatives from NDAC who were out in the streets, you know, essentially warning the public that you need to be responsible. While ideally they wouldn't want any kind of alcohol consumption, for those who would have engaged in that kind of social activity, they needed to exercise a certain responsibility. And in a sense, perhaps that's as far as one can go. I can only advise you, hey, drink responsibly. The rest is up to you as to whether you heed that caution or what have you. What is sad is the reporting that comes as a result of people who may not have been as responsible as they ought to have when they were out socializing over the weekend. I'll use that to segue to another What's Buzzing topic, where this may not have had anything to do with alcohol, but it's a recurrent issue that we've been discussing here on this platform and in our newscast too many times, where you have motorists, particularly individuals on motorcycles, who either end up dead or disfigured, and in some cases even losing their limbs as a result of not necessarily being cautious and responsible how they use their motorcycles. Over the weekend, you're looking at an image of a pair of siblings. This is in the Belize district in the area of Lucky Strike and Santana, where one young man got into an accident on his motorcycle. His brother rushed to the scene to render aid and was heading back home to inform his mother of what transpired. And he too got in a motorcycle accident. So in this particular scenario, one brother has lost a lower limb, and the other remains pretty banged up at the KHMH. And so the mother, as you see her there, is making a public appeal for assistance. And again, this is one of those situations where we've spoken about this ad nauseum, I'd say, you know, too many times. And for some reason or the other, the message isn't hitting home. It's not being internalized by persons who ride motorcycles to say, you know what, I need to be more careful. And I'm not putting it all on those cyclists or motorcyclists. I'm also putting it on persons who use the carriageway, right? So people who are driving, people who are riding bicycles, people who are walking in some instances. You look at what happened in Hopkins over the weekend as well, where an individual got knocked down and killed in a hit and run. And just 1 week before that, my colleague was down in Hopkins doing a story about an individual who lost his life on a motorcycle as well. I don't know what else can be said or done at this point, but it's a serious issue. I
agree, and that's something that I also wanted to point out, Isani. The increase in accidents in just this year alone, I'd say, on motorcycle accidents is appalling. It's concerning. It's a conversation that we've tried to frequently have here on the morning show. I know just yesterday we had a segment on this particular topic, and of course many other segment shows before we spoke about it. I'm not sure what has contributed to the increase when we compare perhaps this year to other years. And I know some of the points that might be raised is the increase in population, more persons are getting motorcycles, but do you have any other idea that you think could potentially contribute to the rise in these accidents?
I mean, I don't want to ascribe any blame to anyone or whatever. I'm simply saying in my mind, I look at it as an issue of recklessness. Either on the part of the person on the motorcycle or the part of the person who's driving or what have you. I say that because you need to be able to operate any kind of motor vehicle with due care and attention, right? Not only for your own personal well-being, but for those of the others who are using that particular thoroughfare. And many times people are selfish in how they use these public spaces, right? If I'm walking, I'm only thinking about myself. If I'm riding, I'm only thinking about myself, driving, so on and so forth. You're not necessarily considering the fact that someone may be behind you, in front of you, or wherever they are in that arrangement, so to speak.
Well, my thought process is what happened between last year, the years before, and this year, because for some reason it has exploded when it comes to the amount of accidents that we have been reporting on. And I mean, that's only what we reported on.
I would presume that a lot more people are riding motorcycles because of the fuel efficiency to begin with. It's cheaper to be on a bike, maintenance, so on and so forth, as compared to a vehicle, right? I'm just putting that out there. Everyone has their own reasons why, but it has led to a boom in the number of motorcycles on the road.
I think this would be a great opportunity then to extend to our viewers, perhaps our online viewers, to give your thoughts on ways that we can curb this situation where accidents concerning motorcyclists are concerned. Do you have any potential solutions that you think would be useful to our law enforcement officers as well as the traffic department?
What was of equal interest yesterday, reflecting on our newscast, is the fact that almost 3 years after Tanga James was murdered.
His name was so popular in the news and online.
Yes. The entanglement, the famous entanglement. But Almost 3 years later, police were able to crack the case involving his homicide and were able to arrest an individual, all right? Now, in many instances, there goes a person who is alleged to have committed this deadly attack on Mr. James and Mary Beth Wade a couple of years back. But in many instances, when the police department does not make an arrest in a timely manner, at least in Belize, we write it off as a cold case that perhaps would not ever be solved, all right? In this case, this is the beginning of finding some kind of resolution here, where you're looking at this individual being arraigned on account of murder and attempted murder and whatever other charges have been brought against him. And he will be taken to court and have his day. It will be interesting to see whether this provides some closure to the family of Mr. James and where we go from there. But it's only the beginning of that particular legal journey, so to speak.
I know as we opened with this particular topic, we mentioned that this particular incident was one that continuously made its way both in the news and online. There were a lot of high emotions when it came to the particular person, Tanga, because of his personal background and his background with the law as well. I know there are a lot of accusations when it came to his personal life too, as it relates to Mary Beth and accusations against her. So I'm hoping that this would result in perhaps some healing and closure, as you mentioned, for both sides, not only the family members, but even herself, Mary Beth, who at some point was even accused of his murder.
Yeah. When I look back at the coverage that was given to this entire incident, there was one in particular that sort of stayed with me. I'm not sure if you would recall when Mr. James was buried. A few days later, if not a few hours later, his tomb was raided.
Yes,
and
I remember
all the
that.
jewelry and all the money and whatever else they had buried him with
Wow.
was completely plundered.
That
was one of those things that perhaps you hear about that in any other forum outside of this country, but it was a first for me.
In life and in death, he had quite an interesting story. So I'm hoping, as we mentioned, that this is just the closure of the case that is needed and closure to all persons that were connected to him. But Isani, that does it for our What's Buzzing topics. As we always mention to our viewers, if you have any thoughts on either of the topics mentioned, please let us know in the comments section. Moving now into our eye-opener for your dose of daily morning motivation. And Isani, would you like to take it away this morning?
Only because your voice is not in the best condition.
Yes, thank you.
It reads as follows. Taking the time to sit with your feelings and acknowledge them will save you much distress down the road. It can take great courage to really sit with your feelings, allowing ourselves to surrender to their powerful energies. All too often we set our feelings aside, thinking we will deal with them later. If we don't, we will end up storing them in our minds and bodies, and this is when anxiety and other health issues can arise. Denying what our bodies want to feel can lead to trouble now or down the line, which is why being in the thick of our feelings, no matter how scary it seems, is really the best thing we can do for ourselves. One of the reasons we tend to hide or push aside our feelings is that we live in a culture that has not traditionally supported emotional awareness. However, as the connection between the mind and body, our emotions and our physical health becomes clearer, awareness of the importance of feelings, of feeling our own feelings has grown. There are many books, classes, workshops, and retreats that can help us on our way to emotional intelligence. We also can trust in our own ability to process what comes up when it comes up. If sadness arises, we can notice its presence and welcome it, noting where in our bodies we feel it, and allowing ourselves to express it through tears or a quiet turning inward. When we simply allow ourselves to fully embrace our feelings as they come, we tend to let them go easily. This is all we are required to do. Our feelings simply want to be felt. We often complicate the situation by applying mental energy in the form of analysis, when all we really need is to allow, just like the earth allows the rain to fall upon it. As the rain falls, the earth excuse me. As the rain falls, the earth responds in a multitude of ways, sometimes emptying out to form a great canyon, sometimes soaking it up to nourish a forest of trees or a valley of flowers. In the same way, the deeper purpose of our feelings is to transform the terrain of our inner world, sometimes creating space for more feelings to flow, sometimes providing sustenance for growth. All we need to do is allow the process by relaxing, opening, and receiving the bounty of our emotions.
This is quite an interesting one.
Yes.
I think I go to the second paragraph that spoke about the reasons that we tend to hide our feelings in the first place. I know when we think of acknowledging our emotions and feeling our emotions, when it comes to the ways that that is perceived and received by both male and female, it differs at times. For instance, we oftentimes reflect on the ways that men or boys aren't necessarily allowed to express their emotions. If it's not something that looks masculine, so to speak. But I think a way to combat that is to recognize that emotions don't have masculinity or femininity. You know, a male should be able to express if he is anxious or if he's sad or happy, just like a female should. And then, of course, there's the very real concept that a lot of times we tend to suppress our emotions in the first place. And because of that, it tends to boil over even worse than if you would have simply felt it for what it is and move on.
Well, this is what I'll simply add to the eye-opener. And it's an admission, actually. Perhaps a confession, right? I'm smart when it comes to a lot of things. But I'm very dunce when it comes to emotional intelligence.
I can stand by this. But we all have our struggles. And I think admitting that, Isani, is one of the first steps to recognizing ways that you can grow. And I think, just as you pointed out, and as I mentioned, this is a struggle that a lot of males have. You tend to think logically, and while there are a lot of ways that we benefit from that, there's also the importance of emotions and feelings in that. And while you admit that you are not emotional, I might be the one that could give you some of it. You know, but I will go back to my very point that I mentioned. I think society has programmed our boys in a way to think that expressing emotions is not something that is acceptable from them or for them. But I do know that just like females, boys deserve to cry too. Boys deserve to express their feelings, because we're all humans. All right, moving now into our weather update. And, you know, I love the way that the eye-opener spoke of the earth and rainfall, and that being sort of like the tears, you know, the metaphorical tears, and what it does to our environment just by expressing that. Let's see if we will be expecting that from the folks at the Met Service today.
Good morning. Relatively moist and unstable conditions prevail. The 24-hour forecast. Skies will be variably cloudy, with a few showers or periods of rain and isolated thunderstorms occurring mostly offshore and over some coastal areas today. Then tonight, activity will spread over most places. High temperatures today will reach around 89 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 94 degrees Fahrenheit inland, and 80 degrees Fahrenheit in the mountains. For tonight, temperatures will reach around 80 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 74 degrees Fahrenheit inland, and 68 degrees Fahrenheit in the hills. Winds over the open sea will be from the west to southwest at 10 to 20 knots, and sea conditions will be choppy to moderate. Low tides occur at 9:58 this morning and then at 8:20 tonight. High tides at 4:25 this evening and then at 3:01 tomorrow morning. The moon will rise at 12:24 this afternoon and set at 11:32 tonight. and then sunset is at 5:46 this evening and sunrise at 5:42 tomorrow morning. The extended forecast. Skies will be variably cloudy. Showers and thunderstorms will be generally isolated on Wednesday, with a chance for a few more developing inland during the afternoon. Then, a few showers, periods of rain, and isolated thunderstorms will affect mostly southern, some coastal, and offshore areas on Wednesday night, gradually decreasing. And now for the tropical weather outlook. At 6 a.m. local time, potential tropical cyclone number 9 was located near latitude 19.2 north and longitude 83.5 west, or about 150 miles west of Grand Cayman, or about 328 miles northeast of Belize City. Potential tropical cyclone number 9 was moving to the northwest at 9 miles per hour with maximum sustained winds of 35 miles per hour. The National Meteorological Service continues to closely monitor the progress of this system. Elsewhere in the North Atlantic, the Caribbean Sea, and the Gulf of Mexico, tropical cyclone formation is not expected during the next 48 hours. And this has been this morning's weather report from the National Meteorological Service.
All right, so that was a National Met Service with the weather forecast for today.
Yes.
And of course for the days ahead. I'm not sure if it was raining in your neck of the woods overnight. I woke up this morning and my yard was wet. So
Yes, same here.
I slept soundly, but I woke up this morning and everywhere
Good for the
outside
plants.
Yes.
But we do have a show lineup for our viewers this morning. Starting off in our first conversation, as we mentioned, we'll be sitting down with the Commissioner of Police to talk to us about all things crime related, and of course an update on what's taking place over there at the department.
Our second conversation this morning is all about Caribbean Wellness Week. We are celebrating the next few days as Caribbean Wellness Week, and we will be joined by the Ministry of Health and Wellness. We will be joined by PAHO representatives and, of course, Miss Universe Belize to discuss with us the activities that are taking place for Caribbean Wellness Week.
Fantastic. And in our final segment, we'll be discussing Research Lab Series 2.0 with the folks from NICH and ISCR. But we got to take our first break, and when we come back, we'll be sitting down with the Commissioner of Police to talk to us about an update on crime in Belize. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Lincoln Forwards, and I work at UMAL. 100% I will recommend Belize Bank mobile banking to everyone because it saves time, money, and gas price, because gas price is high right now. Belize Bank mobile banking just make life easier.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you've been waiting for. In this corner, we have the masters of limitless power and unbeatable connection. Pioneers of 4G LTE in Belize. It's the undefeated champion, Smart. And in the other corner, struggling to keep up, it's the other guy. Fight! Of getting blow after blow from a plan with the other guys? It's time to tap out and join the winning postpaid plan provider. Smart's postpaid plans are a total knockout to the competition, and they have once again powered up their postpaid plans. Sign up for one of Smart's boosted postpaid power plans today and experience the victory of superior service. Smart, bringing people together.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires. To innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Full-Tech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
So the doctor has given me 5 days off. How do I get paid from Social Security? This is how Social Security works for sickness benefits. First, you must check that you qualify. You must be employed when you got sick, have made 50 paid contributions, have made 5 paid contributions within 13 weeks immediately before getting sick. To ensure that your processing goes smoothly, be sure to complete and submit your claim form within 14 days of the first day of illness. Thanks, I get it now.
Visit our website or contact any of our offices to have someone assist you. Also, be sure to visit our Facebook page and give us a like to stay informed. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
And welcome back. Joining us in studio this morning for our first conversation is the Commissioner of Police, Chester Williams. He's no stranger to OIE, and of course this time around he's here to give us an update on everything that's been taking place within the past several weeks in law enforcement. Good morning.
Good morning, Compal.
Compal Williams.
Good morning, good morning.
You look kind of relieved simply because we're on the tail end of all the activities that kicked off September.
Good morning to viewers and listeners at home and abroad. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
Let's begin first of all by talking about the September celebrations and how policing has been in terms of the department trying to keep a lid on crime and violence and ensuring citizen security.
Well, as you know, the September month is a festive month, and it being festive, it means that there is more work for the police to do. So while the ordinary public enjoying themselves, celebrating, the police have to be out there on high alert, doing what needs to be done to keep those persons who are in a celebratory mood safe. Around that time, we don't give holidays to police officers. They just get your ordinary days off. But in terms of holidays, you don't get that. And even sometimes your day offs are not given. Instead, you're compensated for it by way of extraneous duties or special duty, as the case may be. So police officers have a really difficult time. September, Christmas, and Easter holidays. Nonetheless, being a department that we are, where we are resilient people, we always put the safety of this country and the safety of others before our own personal interests. And so we always rise to the occasion. In preparation for the September events, we had a number of briefings with our officers, explain to them the different events and what we expect of them during this festive time. And most importantly, we try to stress to them the importance to always maintain a cool when dealing with issues. We cannot allow ourselves to be carried away by emotions or by the stupid acts of those who may wish to perpetrate criminal acts during this time. And so making sure that we do things and do it the right way is important to us. We try as best as we can to keep our officers out of the news, even though we're still seeing circumstances where police officers are making the news, particularly for domestic issues. But again, one of the things that we would say to our police officers during the festive time is that under the Liquor Licensing Act, I think it's section 44, allows the consumption of alcohol in public. As you know, public drinking is generally an offense.
Yes.
But during festive time, section 44, I think subsection 2, do make provision for alcohol to be consumed during a celebratory occasion like Christmas, September celebrations, and perhaps even Easter. But while it makes the provision for alcohol to be consumed in public, the law is clear that the alcohol must not be consumed from any plastic or can containers. It must be consumed from paper, styrofoam, or plastic containers. So one of the highlights of our briefing to officers is that during the celebratory mode, while the law allows the consumption of alcohol in public, we must ensure that we enforce the law to its fullest, especially where bottles are concerned.
Glass bottles.
Glass bottles.
Yes.
Because then we know that glass bottles can easily be weaponized. Something happens, you block that bottle. You don't even have to block it.
Instrument.
And you use that as a tool to inflict fatal injuries on people. And so you would see that during carnival or any parade, the police would take away bottles from people. We don't arrest them, but we just take the bottles away. We don't enforce the cans because, again, for you to use a can as a weapon, it's going to take so much, right? Because you have to block the can or you call it tear the can to be able to give it. So it is more difficult to make a can, to turn a can into a weapon as opposed to a bottle. So those persons who is consuming from cans, we just leave them alone to enjoy themselves.
This was something that we also spoke about just before we called our break. We had representatives again from the Belize Police Department. I know Mr. Alberto Romero was on, and he was talking about that when we were anticipating our Belize City Carnival, and it was being advised to the public that glass bottles would be prohibited. Now, you encountered an individual over the weekend where the Orange Walk Carnival was taking place, yes? And was it a case of that individual consuming alcohol from a glass bottle?
Well, this individual seems to be big and bad. His entire demeanor is disrespectful. And I spotted him, like I did many other people, consuming alcohol from a Belikin bottle. He was in the company of a female. I believe she is his partner. And I approached him very nicely, and I said to him, I said, sir, I cannot be consuming alcohol in bottles. And I went to retrieve the bottle from him. And when I did that, he pulled away his hand and he pushed me. I had a nice piece of rosewood in my hand that weighs about 5 pounds. And when he pushed me, I just kept my cool, and I told him again to surrender the bottle. At this time, he grabbed me in my shirt. I was wearing official police uniform. He grabbed me in my shirt and pulled my shirt. At that time, the officer I was with came and intervened between us, and he held on to him. And while the officer held on to him, he still held on to my shirt for at least a minute, saying to the officer, I want him, I want him. In other words, he wants me, right? I don't know what, if he had some kind of wish. But I, again, maintained my cool because if I had used my baton on him, it would have been a different story. The officers eventually subdued him, handcuffed him, and put him in the vehicle, and he was ferried away to the police station. I got a number of calls from different people asking me to give him a break, that he's an Iraqi vet and this, that. I don't care who he is. If you can assault the commissioner of police, then what are you going to do with the little constables to the bottom? And if it is that I allow a man to assault me and just allow him to go, then what message am I sending? So I said to those persons who called me, I'm not going to give him no break. He'll be charged and will be taken to court. Now, I find it very, very disturbing and displeased that this individual went to court yesterday and was only fined $1,500 for assaulting the commissioner of police. Now here you have Inspector Martinez, who was accused and pled guilty to assaulting a person who is known to always be involved in criminal activities, and who is accused of shooting Martinez's house and Martinez get 5 months. But the man who assaults me just get a slap on the wrist and was told to go home. And what makes the matters even worse is that he's a Belizean American. He don't live here. And the court gave him time to pay. So if he wants, he could catch a plane today, tomorrow, and go back to the US and don't even have to bother to pay the fine.
Just don't come back.
You understand me? It sends the wrong signal. The law was recently amended to give stiffer penalties to persons who assault public officers in execution of their duty. Under that law, there is a sentence of 3 years imprisonment. I know they said give the man 3 years, but to just give him a fine, and he walks out of the court with a big grin on his face, like, yeah, I have achieved. You are saying to the public, want to beat the police, and we got your back. But if the police touch you, we are sending up jail. We can't have two sets of laws. It cannot be.
Okay, so this particular matter went before the lower courts yesterday, right? The amendment is in place that says if you...
He was charged under the amendment.
Yes, good. So it's then the magistrate's discretion as to how they apply the law.
So the same way the magistrate exercised her discretion to send Martinez to jail for 3 months, she could have exercised her discretion because the penalty for assaulting a public officer in execution of his duty is 3 years, a maximum of 3 years imprisonment. So that could have been done likewise.
Commissioner?
But in light of that, I have already instructed Ms. Elrington to go to court today, and we're going to appeal the sentence because it is not fair. And it doesn't matter because I'm told that he told the court that he didn't know I was the commissioner of police. It does not matter.
That's what was said.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? It does not matter. You should not assault a police officer whilst they're performing their duties. And it's not like I was dressed in civilian clothing that he could say I didn't know it was a police. I was dressed in police uniform. So it doesn't matter whether I'm the commissioner of police or not. You ought not to assault a police when performing their duties.
Allow me to ask a follow-up question here on something you've mentioned. So the sentence was handed down in the case of Christopher Martinez, right? Which is, I think, 5 months in prison, correct? When he is released, given the circumstance around this incident, does he retain his job? Will he be dismissed as an officer?
That is going to be a matter for the Secretary of Services Commission. We're going to take the matter before the Services Commission. They're going to determine that. But we have police officers in the department who have been convicted of wounding and even grievous harm. So there is a very precedence there that police officers who have been convicted of those crimes remain in the department. We also have a police officer at one point in time was convicted of, I think, manslaughter when he shot a police officer he shot a person in Ladyville, and even though he was convicted, he still retained his job. So it's a matter for the commission to determine. And again, I just want to remind Belizean people, because I see the number of stupid comments in respect to the incident in Orange Walk with myself. And I saw where some of them are saying, oh, the police should have exercised discretion, and oh, the celebration time, leave the man to drink, and this, that. Oh, he's a foreigner. It doesn't matter if he's a foreigner. I cannot go to the States and break the law there and say I'm a Belizean and expect I must get away. And of course, we do exercise our discretion because we don't arrest people for it. We just take away the battle. And we recall what happened last year during the carnival in Belize City. When you are referred to as the Battle of BMN Avenue, right? When we don't take away these battles from people, they become the weapon of choice when fights break out.
People get stabbed,
people get cut, all kind of things. So the police must do what we can to keep the public safe. So those who are spewing a bunch of nonsense on social media, what if that man had left the battle there, or one of them had encountered him and get into a fight, and he would have broken that battle and stabbed them? What would they have said? They would say, what? The police did not do their job, because the police should have taken away the battles from people. So it's a situation where damn if you do and damn if you don't, but people need to understand that we do certain things to ensure the safety of people. Not because we just want to do it for do it safe. No, the safety of people in these time of celebrations is very, very important.
The theme that I am hearing here, Commissioner, in the instance that you encountered over the weekend in Orange Walk, also in another instance that we just spoke of this morning, where another police officer, perhaps it has not reached your desk as yet, if it even intends to, in San Pedro, where in Kikocker, where another police officer was assaulted by individuals on the island, is that there seems to be a sort of lack of respect where enforcement is concerned, because just as your instance where you were trying to ensure that this individual was abiding by the law over on the islands, it was another instance very similar. Do you see this being an issue within the Belize Police Department, where it seems that the general public seems to be losing their respect for law enforcement officers?
Well, if the court continues to operate the way they're operating, where you assault the police and you just get a slap on the wrist, and if the police touch you, the police go to jail, then certainly there is nothing there to promote respect for the law.
Right.
Criminals will always say, I will do something and I'll pay money for you. Right? And then if you do me anything, they're going to jail. There is no balance there. It's like, it pays more to be a criminal then, and to do the police something, as opposed to the police defending himself. Because I know I am quite capable of defending myself, trust me. And with the stick I had, I could have done a lot. But I kept my cool, because at the end of the day, I do not want to do nothing that is going to put me under any heavy scrutiny. Even though I know that I would have been right, I still kept my cool. I am a leader, and I try to show police officers that you can resolve issues without violence. So I tried as best as I can to just restrain myself and allow the police to have detained the person and took him to the police station.
Kumpal, before we move on to another topic here, I want to ask your position in an observation that I have made as an individual. It would seem as if though the department, in terms of being able to police the carnival, I say carnival in the round, Belize City and Orange Walk, you've been able to, for the better part, contain what could be the kind of violence that we've seen previous years when it comes to the Carnival Road March in Belize City, notwithstanding the Battle of Bayman Avenue last year. But in terms of Orange Walk, it would seem as if though there's been a significant spike in the violence surrounding the activities there. I think back to what happened, I believe, last year with the murder of Bernard Timmons after the carnival. And I look at what happened here again this year with the murder of Alwyn Arnold after the carnival. And these are persons who travel from Belize City to Orange Walk to participate in the festivities.
The Orange Walk Carnival is extremely challenging. If a matter of fact, I think that Carnival is twice the size of Belize City Carnival.
Yeah, but I know it's bigger.
It's extremely huge. And the thing with Belize City Carnival is that once the carnival reaches its location, where it culminates, it does. Police send you home and that's it. In Orange Walk, when the carnival reaches its location, the party just starts. Right? And the thing is that there are a number of liquor establishments that have liquor license, and people go to these places and socialize and end up in a fight. That's what happens this year's carnival. We have received a bit of footage of that incident, and it was a fight. The deceased was the aggressor, I must say. The person who did the stabbing has not come forward. I guess he is in fear. But I don't see him being charged for murder. Having viewed the video footage, he was defending himself. So if he were to come in and he were to give his statement as to what happened, that would go to the DPP rep in Orange Walk for their advice. And I don't foresee a murder charge coming out of it, because the deceased actually ran after him, aggressing him. And it was during that process, the fight, that the deceased was stabbed. So for me, it was more an act of self-defense, but we're going to see when that time comes. But like I said, it is difficult because these liquor establishments, many of them do not get police to work for them. And with the huge amount of people that goes to this establishment, it poses great security threat. We had to close down 2 of the nightclubs because when we went there, the crowd was swelling, and they have no security, no police. How could you, right? We can't take things for granted. While you get the license to operate, there must be security measures in place to ensure the safety of people who come to your place. So the Ritual Carnival is very, very challenging, but we do our best to make sure that we police it the best that we can. And we are always able to ensure that we police the carnival without any incident. When the incidents were to happen, it would be after the carnival.
One of my concerns, Commissioner, that have also showed up in the carnival that took place over the weekend, and even many times before, is the instances of videotaping of brawls that end up on social media, that end up on informal social media news pages. Just over the weekend, we saw an instance of some women fighting, and disturbingly, one of them that was laying on the ground, seemingly being assaulted by another individual, a man pulling on her underwear garments. And it also takes me to that brawl video that took place just a few weeks before, where a 15-year-old was ambushed by many other adult women. What can be done, if anything can be done, Commissioner, from law enforcement, from a law enforcement perspective on bystanders, videotapers, persons that are egging on these brawls? Can anything be done?
Well, the last time what we did with those in Belize City, they were charged for abetment in respect of the fight. That video footage you spoke about, I have given that to the police with instructions for us to locate those persons, and they will be charged. Again, we need to see what can be done to address the issue of those persons who upload these video footages on social media. I would want to think that there is something that we can do to address that. So we have to look at it and see what can be done. But again, people need to learn to understand that if you are going out to enjoy yourself, you do so in peace. Getting engaged into fights and quarrels and so forth does not make things any better for you. And the thing is that you would hear people say, oh, well, she tell me this, she tell me that. If somebody says something to you, that not take nothing away from you. Sometimes you have to learn to walk away and not confront people who say things to you that you don't like. Because when that happens, then it ends up in a fight. You might end up to get charged. You know, it makes no sense. So the way how we behave in public is important. The way how we exercise self-restraint is important. And the way how we respect ourselves in public is also important. We, the police, cannot do nothing to alter the behavior of a person. We can only deal with you when you break the law. And we have always ensured that where the law is broken, those persons are held to account for it. Because once we get the video footages, we go after the people who are involved, they are charged and they are taken before the police.
How easy is it, Kampal, to acquire these individuals when we're looking at the mass groupings that are out there when these events are taking place, and you're tasking your officers with finding 5 of thousands?
Sometimes it is not difficult, sometimes it is easy. We might not be able to get them there and then, but sometimes we get them on hours after or a day after. Sometimes they hear that they're being sought by the police and they would come forward. So it has not been difficult for us to be able to locate these individuals when the time comes.
Kampal, let's go in a different direction here. Last week, we reported perhaps as many as 5 different instances where police officers across the country are being charged for one offense or another. From the misappropriation of $1,000 in Benke to a police officer making off with casino chips in San Pedro,
San Pedro.
And to another officer, you know, slapping up a woman at a food stall, and so on and so forth. I think that the high point was the female officer firing a service weapon at her boyfriend. How do you attempt to maintain the image of the police department. And I know you'll tell me that officers are human beings just like myself and Sabrina. I know you'll tell me that. But how do you try to contain what would otherwise be the good image of the police department?
You know, Isani, people need to come to the realization, and even police officers, that sometimes it is good to retreat. Perhaps I'm a different type of person, but I don't like confrontations. I don't like arguments. You begin to argue with me, you want confrontation, I remove myself. That's me. Because when you stay, it can only lead to one thing, a fight. And I don't want to be engaged in any fight, especially with a woman. You'll never win that fight. And I always say that to police officers. When we had the SOE and we saw the lull in crime, I met with all my commanders and I said to them, please make sure you all have a talk with your personnel, because every time there's a lull in crime, police become the news. I explained to them, particularly when it comes to domestic issues. Talk to your police officers, monitor their behavior. If you see a change in their behavior, try to find out what the issues are. And so said, so done. We started a number of complaints about police, and just yesterday I gave instruction to charge another two. I think an incident in PG where a police officer beat his pregnant wife, and there's another one somewhere, I think in Placencia, where another police officer who lives with another police officer beat the female partner. It's terrible, but police have to come to the realization that we as enforcers of the law must uphold the law. And as the Commissioner of Police, I will not countenance no police officer beating a woman. It's a no-no for me. Even if the woman beat you, run. Do not engage in a fight with a woman. You will not win that fight. But some don't get the memo. You're arresting some, and some, even though they say what is happening to those who are being arrested, they still do. I guess they want to be arrested as well. So we must do what needs to be done, because like you rightly said, the integrity of the department must be upheld. And we cannot countenance lawlessness from our officers. I have had a zero policy for domestic issues. I have said that even when the partner don't want nothing, we will take you to court and let that partner go to the court and say he or she wants nothing. Because I don't want nothing to backfire later on, and they will say, oh, because they're police, they never do nothing. We will do what needs to be done. You go and you withdraw. If something happens later, we can say, we did our part. You were the one who went and withdrew the matter against him or her. So that has been the policy for us.
Okay, I'm glad that you've said that. My firm, humble position is same for woman, same for man, vice versa. In the case where the young lady fired the service weapon at her boyfriend, I understand that he doesn't want to pursue any legal action against his girlfriend, but a crime was committed nonetheless, right? How is that being dealt with?
Well, like I said to the investigator, while he may have a call in terms of the aggravated assault upon him, he don't have a call in respect of the discharging of the firearm in public. And more so, the weapon used is a service weapon. So he too will have to answer, why is it that his girlfriend had access to the service weapon? Because if you have a weapon, you must have some system in place to be able to keep it safe. The same way how the girlfriend could have found it and used it, the same way children could have found it and used it. We cannot have weapons lay all over the place inside a house. It must be kept in a safe location. So right now, both of them, the girl and the boyfriend, are in trouble. He feels like, oh, because he don't want nothing, he gets away. But that's not the case, no.
Commissioner, we are 9 months into the year with only 3 months left to conclude. As we approach the end of 2024, what are our statistics currently looking like as it relates to violent crimes? I know last year was a celebrated year for record numbers as it relates to fighting violent crimes in Belize, but what are these statistics looking like now?
You know, when you have a good year, it is always difficult to beat that good year.
And it will always be compared.
And it will always be compared. Nonetheless, I am proud to say that when it comes to major crime, we are like 14% below last year's figure. So we're still doing better comparing to last year. There are 3 areas of major crime that we are currently up when compared to last year. And those are unlawful sexual intercourse, rape, and murders. At the end of August, we were 1 murder below last year's figure. In the month of September, we have now surpassed last year's figure. So right now we are 3 above last year. Because last year, September, we only had 2 murders. So far this year, we have had 4. Right? So we are, I think, 2 or 3 above last year's figure. But we continue to work as hard as we can to be able to keep the figures down. I hear the leader of the opposition when he said that murders are up by 40%. I don't know where he can get that from. And I saw it prudent to rebut what he had said and respond, giving the statistics in terms of where we were at the end of August this year compared to the end of August last year. And I am not, I saw yesterday again where they're saying that I am manipulating the figures. I don't do that. You all have the figures for the murders anyway. Every murder is reported, right? So at the end of the day, we keep our statistics real and we don't play the figures, none at all. There are 3 more months to go in the year. I am hoping that we'll be able to beat the 87 last year. But it is going to be a very, very difficult task.
I'll end off
87 last year.
I'll end off by asking you this, since you've discussed the statistics and what have you. So from any outsider's point of view, you are perennially engaged in a locking of horns with the leader of the opposition. You say one thing, he says one thing, vice versa, right? I think anybody could see that. But is it a situation where you're compelled to have to respond, either from your seat as the Commissioner of Police, or perhaps the way you view the department and you try to safeguard the image of the department, versus perhaps there are instances where his claims are unfounded, but you feel the need to set the record straight?
I owe it to the Belizean people to make sure that we report accurately to them. It would make no sense for me as a commissioner to hide crime. If a crime is committed, there's a need for us to make it public. And this is one area I have to agree with Jules Vasquez on, that we cannot hide crime, because when we hide crime, we're playing with the safety of people. If you know a crime occurs in your area, that puts you on alert, because you don't know if you're going to be next. But if a crime occurs in your area and the police hide it, when you become a victim, you could say, well, if I knew, I could have done X, Y, Z to prevent me becoming a victim too. So we don't hide crime. Secondly, I owe it to the police department as the leader to make sure that there is no misrepresentation of our efforts. The men and women of the police department work extremely hard every day to keep this country safe. And if I allow somebody to downplay the efforts of the department and make it seem like we have done nothing, then I am doing a disservice to the men and women I lead. And thirdly, and finally, in that matter, we are a tourist destinated country. When people want to come to Belize, they look at our crime stats. And while I don't have an issue with the ordinary public saying that crime is out of control and this and that and that, I don't have an issue with that. But when you have the leader of the opposition saying that, he is somebody that when the tourists watch him from abroad saying these things, they will believe him. Right? So he needs to be more responsible in terms of what he says. Because if you so love Belize, you're not going to do nothing to tarnish the image of Belize in the international world, to prevent people from wanting to come to Belize. And I can tell you, Isani, if you look across the Caribbean, Belize continues to be one of the countries with the lowest crime rate. We're below Jamaica, below Trinidad, below St. Vincent, below St. Lucia, below Bahamas, below Turks and Caicos. We continue to be one of the countries with the lowest crime rate. We have gone from being one of the countries with the highest in the region to one of the countries with the lowest. It says that we're doing something. If you were to ask me if we can do more, certainly we can do more. And every day, I push my officers to do the best they can to keep this country safe. It's not easy. Dealing with humans who act out as a police department, it's not easy for us, but we still do our best to make sure that we keep the country as safe as we possibly can.
Kampal, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your morning. I know it was rather early, but I can probably speak for our viewers that they appreciate your presence, the fact that you never shy away from the media and you never shy away from answering the tough questions as well. So thank you.
Thank you too for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to come and speak to the Belizean people and let them know exactly what the police department is doing to keep them safe.
All right. All right, we're going to take a quick break now, and when we come back, the conversation switches into Caribbean Wellness Week. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Is bringing you deals that are bigger and smarter than ever. When you sign up for broadband and add a postpaid plan, you get to enjoy 2 months of free add-ons. Customers that sign up for a select plan or above and get phones for as low as $80. It doesn't end there. Switch to Smart Prepaid and get more value for your money. Switch your chip and get your SIM for only $1. One large social media data bundle for 3 months and phones for as low as $60. Smart has bigger and smarter deals for you. Promo ends September 28th. Smart, bringing people together.
Hey Jay, ready for the first day on the job?
Man, I can't wait to get paid.
I remember when I first started making money, I loved to spend, not a thought about priorities.
Life was good, huh?
Boy, life got tough. Bills started to pile up and I didn't have money for the more important things.
So what did you do?
Jay, everything changed when I started to budget.
Budget? Can you tell me what is budgeting?
Alright, well you see,
a budget is a plan on how to spend your money. Budgeting helps you prioritize your spending and plan for the future. To create a budget, tally up your salary and any other funds coming in. Next, list your expenses. This includes rent, utilities, groceries. Be sure to include savings, no matter how big or small. Now, deduct expenses and savings from your income. What's the balance? Are there areas where you can cut back? Review your budget regularly and adjust as needed.
Oh, now I see the importance of budgeting. I need to make a plan before I start spending.
Good move, Jay. This is how you position yourself for financial security now and in the future.
Take control of your financial future. Start budgeting today. A message from the Central Bank of Belize. Visit us at www.centralbank.org.bz.
Unwrap the joy of crystal clear picture and sound from Iowa, the brand that offers you affordability and exceptional quality. Iowa has a wide range of exceptional products to choose from, such as TVs, speakers, headphones, home appliances, and much more at affordable prices that won't break the bank. Enhance your audio-visual entertainment experience with Iowa, and for your convenience, parts are readily available in country for hassle-free maintenance. You can find Iowa products at your local electronics store countrywide. Choose Iowa, the best in home entertainment and household appliances.
My name is Leomar Langsert and I'm a teacher and I bank with Belize Bank Independence Branch. What I enjoy is to see if the features that the app offers. I have a sense of not having to worry or be concerned about somebody finding my password and username to sign in the application because of the use of the one-time password. And another feature that I love, that I use the most, is how the app synchronizes with my fingerprint on my device. I enjoy the rapid and easy, seamless process to apply for loans through the Belize Bank, and I don't have to be having too much back and forth to visit or take time to visit the bank. They also start to offer the online applications through the app for loan applications, which I believe is very neat. I would definitely recommend Belize Bank to other teachers because one of all the features and advantages that the app offer. With these online that Belize Bank offered is basically everything that you can do in the palm of your hand. So I would definitely recommend the bank to other teachers.
Welcome back, guys. We are jumping into our second conversation this morning, and as we mentioned, it's all about Caribbean Wellness Week. We have here with us a conversation from a country representative from PAHO and the World Health Organization, Karen Lewis Bell, also no stranger to Open Your Eyes here.
Good morning.
And joining her is a nutritionist with the Ministry of Health and Wellness. She is Robin Daly-Faber, and also joining us is the Queen herself, Miss Universe Belize. She's also a fitness trainer and a recent ambassador for UNICEF, Queen Halima Hoy. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us and welcome.
Good morning, thanks for having us.
So, Caribbean Wellness Week. I always look forward to these type of conversations surrounding wellness and of course health in general, because I think it's an opportunity for us to highlight ways that we definitely need to improve as it relates to our overall view of health and wellness in this country. But when we think of health and wellness in the Caribbean, that might be an interesting conversation too, because we see how similar we are with our brother and sister nations in CARICOM, yes? Let's start the conversation on Caribbean Wellness Week, the significance of this week, and what we can expect. Let's begin with you, Ms. Bell.
Okay, so I'd like to start off by saying that it's more than just Caribbean Wellness Week.
Okay.
It's Wellness Week in the Americas. And this is an initiative that actually started in the Caribbean, I think, in 2009, 2010.
Mm-hmm.
But Wellness Week in the Americas started many years ago in 2011, actually. And it really is about promoting the importance of health and well-being, and what individuals can do to ensure their own health and well-being. Each year there is a focus or a theme, and this particular year the theme or the focus is on social cohesion.
Okay.
And this is really about the importance of attachment, engagement, solidarity, individuals coming together to promote the health and well-being, because we realize that when there is attachment. You know, certainly our youths would be less engaged in gang violence or gang activities, use of illicit drugs. When communities get together, we support each other. There is a sense of belonging. And it does a lot for our health, not just our physical health, but our mental health as well. And many of us may remember that during COVID-19, this really came to fore, especially with older persons. The social exclusion from lockdowns, etc., really took a toll on our mental health. And so it really is about promoting in a collective way what individuals and communities can do to promote their own health, physical health, their nutrition, their mental health and well-being. And it's also about ensuring that we advocate for policies, for programs to support our health and well-being and not excluding anyone in the communities.
There's so many things that we can take from your initial point that you mentioned, Ms. Karen, and I have to say thank you for recognizing a different angle on health and wellness. Oftentimes when we think of that on face value, we think of going to the doctor and ensuring that you're not getting any of the non-communicable diseases or any other extensive health matter. But recognizing the importance of social cohesion and how that ties into all the other aspects of health and wellness is a discussion that probably we could have the entire show on. I want to touch on specific areas in particular when it comes to the impact of social cohesion and young people in particular. How does that tie into a young person maintaining their mental and physical health? Let's begin with either of you ladies. We can continue, but I want to include everyone in the conversation.
Certainly. I just think it's important for us to have a sense of belonging, a sense of community. And the conversations can start anywhere. They can start in schools, with health clubs, with peer groups. It can start in social clubs. We also have to remember service clubs. We also have to remember that communities are schools, our workplaces, our churches. And so it's important that we are our brothers' keepers. How do we promote well-being? We ensure that individuals have healthy meals. You know, we ensure that individuals pay attention to downtime, to engagement in other activities, physical activities. We can do things together, exercise clubs, exercise groups in communities. PE, and especially for the young people, it is so important to talk about our feelings. Mental health, oftentimes, you know, adolescence is a tough time for any individual. You know, we have a sense of strength, but there are so many challenges that adolescents face, and it's important for them to have a safe space to discuss their feelings, to discuss their challenges, to collectively come together with solutions so that we can ensure that we reduce depression, we reduce incidents of suicide, but more importantly that our spirits are lifted, because health is not just about physical, it's about our mental health as well. And you know, for those of us who are Christians, you know, the Bible tells us that a joyful heart is good medicine. So once you have a sense of belonging, your spirits get lifted and your emotions get lifted, and that contributes to your health.
How does what was explained by Ms. Karen translate into the work that is being done through the Ministry of Health and Wellness?
It's very applicable. We, especially with the theme this year, looking at including social cohesion, we have been working over the years promoting workplace wellness, celebrating Wellness Week. We've been doing this for some time, and what we're seeing now is indeed bringing people together to promote wellness is the way to go. We're strengthening that in many areas. So we have our health education team, HECOPAB, and we have different units within the Ministry of Health. So they would be one of our leading units organizing events in collaboration with the nutrition unit. We have the mental health unit. We have, for example, we have different areas and different parts of the communities that we target. So as you may know, we have, even when we look at wellness, where we have our healthy habits, healthy schools, healthy Belize initiative, looking at banning the sugary drinks and promoting healthy foods in schools. That's also a part of wellness. We started that last year. So our focus at the ministry is really to bring people together, look at programs, activities, interventions that we can support together as a team, having healthy communities, healthy schools. So the collaboration has been strengthened a lot. And even this year, you know, looking at supporting and working together also with our partners, PAHO, UNICEF, and this year we have Miss Universe joining us for our Wellness Week activities. It's all about being together and looking at the well-being of everyone as a team, as a group, as a unit.
Let's get Halima in on the conversation at this point. You're into fitness, one, and two, you're an ambassador in a sense in terms of being able to carry this message along with you. Explain to us what it's been like in terms of trying to share with the public why it's healthy and why fitness is important.
It's a lot easier now with this platform, and that's something that I prayed for when I applied to become to run for Miss Universe Belize. I wanted to have a bigger stage for my voice, because as an individual, it's really challenging to try and make an impactful change such as this one with just your Instagram page or your Facebook page. Don't get me wrong, that is important. But the fact that I can partner with these strong organizations such as UNICEF and the Ministry of Health and Wellness is a dream of mine, because now I can focus more on the fitness aspect, but I also expand into mental well-being, emotional well-being, nutrition, and so forth. And I believe that it's important for community to see how leaders of fitness, leaders of health can work together.
Yeah.
You know, I always say that if we want change, us as leaders in whatever field we're in, you know, you guys as leaders in whatever, with talk shows and broadcasting and so forth, you have to set the trend and you have to set the example. So the fact that they can see leaders partnering up, it really makes the voice more powerful, and it sends a message throughout the country. So I am very grateful that I can be here today.
So your partnership with UNICEF will allow us to learn a bit more of your role when it comes to health and wellness in its entirety. We know that aside from being our new Miss Universe Belize, your actual life is surrounded by health and fitness. Talk to us about this particular project and what we will be seeing you in the coming future.
I hope that even beyond my reign, I can continue to work with these organizations, as I was explaining to the ladies earlier. But this project, Working Wellness Week, is really helping me to realize that there is an important need for inclusion in the communities, and it's very important for us to include children, include the elderly. We often think about health and wellness and as something for the young and the spirited, but we don't think about how important it is for us to groom the generation to come into having healthier habits. And then the elderly, they can make a huge change in their lives by adapting small changes, such as taking walks and consuming vegetables each day, and of course practicing, not practicing, but being a part of community efforts, because for them, as I noticed yesterday, it plays a huge part for them to feel included in society and to feel like they're playing a role. So it actually, there's research that shows that by participating in community activities, it helps them to live longer and, you know, have more purpose in their communities, which they do. You know, they have so much wisdom to impart on us. So this project has really helped me to expand my view on health and wellness, because I'm usually more fitness and nutrition, but now I get to explore a wider range of well-being within my own country.
And how it can even add to that fitness aspect, because oftentimes we forget that You know, it's not just pumping the weights and eating your veggies, mental health, sleep, that all ties into this one common accord, which is health and wellness. Let's talk about some of the activities that we will be expecting this week in particular. Oftentimes when we have these, I guess, celebratory week or awareness weeks, we try to remind our viewers that it shouldn't only be a week or a day of recognizing. You know, this should be a conversation that we have even outside of that assigned day or few days. But in the case of this week, we do have to speak about the activities. What will we be expecting?
Okay, so this week, each day has a theme. So yesterday was Solidarity Monday, looking at social cohesion. So most of the regions, every district has a week of activities scheduled. So that makes it even better for us to look at what each area is doing. So we do have this today, Disability Inclusion Tuesday, which will include visiting like the centers that have special needs children. So most of the units are doing that. So today we're actually doing Stella Maris here in Belize City. And we have, like, for example, Kayo Deaf Institute painting. They're just different activities to support this theme for today. Yeah. Wellness Wednesday is no secret. We are still promoting our screening and education, looking at prevention of chronic diseases and NCDs. And as you know, our workplace wellness is a big initiative that we've been doing for a couple of years now, going to workplaces and involving workplaces to have activities and support sessions for their staff, be it screening, education. HPV is also a very big part that we're promoting as well, which should help with cancer, cervical cancer, prevention of cervical cancer. So we have Early Detection Thursday, which is looking at detection of cancer in men and women. And Friday we have Better Together Friday, which is our family community health. And that's one of our key activities. Our Sukathon is on Friday in Belmopan. And that is really just a day to promote physical activity. Of course, including everyone, the family, the community, the workplace. So that should be a fun event. And we have our workplace wellness. This is a big activity for us also in Dangriga this year. What we do at these wellness forums is we invite employers to come and hear sessions of ways they can engage their staff, ways that they can promote wellness within the workplace. As you know, you spend about 8-9 hours in the workplace. What is there for you, or what is there that can promote wellness? Yeah. And that's huge because most people get their wellness activities during the waking day. It's hard for people to get up in the morning and do on their own or when they get home from work. So having this workplace wellness is very important, even if it's healthy meals, doing things together as a group, yoga sessions, mental health sessions we're starting to do. Even if it's an hour, hour and a half, we give employers tips of why it's important and how they can engage staff for wellness.
Perhaps that can take us into the policy conversation when it comes to workplaces in particular, and that's where I would like to take the conversation as well, because Robin, you mentioned something so important. Workplaces are, I'd say, the place that we spend the most of our time. We pay our mortgages and we pay our rent, but we only are there to sleep. We don't even get to enjoy it. We spend most of our waking days in our place of employment. Is there anything from a policy aspect that we can expect from the government as it relates to ensuring that there is something related to promoting wellness in these workplaces?
That's something that we're working towards. We have already started that conversation with the Ministry of Public Service and looking at how we can have not a law, but a policy that employers must dedicate certain hours to wellness. Yeah. Because it's so important. Many people, if it's even, like I said, having a wellness room. Yeah. So it's just having measures or a support system. Maybe once a month they would have Fruit Fridays, or they would have a healthy, something that can promote wellness for workplaces. And we don't want to tell people they have to do it, but we want to empower and engage them to see the importance and the need of having this.
And the benefit of it too.
We're at that point now looking at getting that implemented. So that conversation continues to get to that stage where we could actually have all employees, all workplaces have some type of wellness for staff.
Yeah. And may I just add that one of the principles that the Pan American Health Organization promotes is health in all policies. So health is not just the responsibility of the Ministry of Health. it's every single ministry, every single government agency. And there are policies that can be put in place. So, you know, encouraging the use of encouraging drinking water, staying hydrated, and not having sugary sweetened drinks. And so having water coolers, having water accessible and available throughout the day for staff, encouraging the use of stairs, building or constructing buildings in such a way that we maximize on natural light, adequate ventilation, ensuring that there's a wellness room if people need to take breaks, and encouraging, you know, retreats or conversations or discussions, engagement with the staff. So there are many things that organizations can do to encourage health and well-being among their staff, but especially the policies. One thing that I really like about Belize, not being a Belizean myself, is really seeing the outdoor gyms in the parks. And it's not just in Belmopan, it's not just in Belize City. And that is fostering community, that is promoting physical activity, putting it in a space where individuals from the community can come together and engage and also participate in physical activity. So something like that, a policy to have, you know, open spaces to encourage physical activity where people can walk, children can play, you know, and be out in the outdoors, I think is quite positive as well.
Let's step back a bit for a second here. While we are observing Caribbean Wellness Week, and of course wellness extends to the Americas, as you mentioned earlier, what has perhaps been one of the observations you've made in terms of either communicable, non-communicable diseases that have been plaguing the region, either the Americas or the Caribbean proper?
So I'm glad that you raised that, because one of the important things about Wellness Week is trying to reduce the risk factors for non-communicable diseases, which are really the leading cause of death. In the region of the Americas, we have some 41 million deaths. Sorry, globally, we have some 41 million deaths taking place each year. In the Americas, it's about 5.5 million deaths from non-communicable diseases. But more importantly, we have some 17 million deaths globally, 2.2 million in the Americas, that are considered premature deaths. That's death in people 30 to 69 years of age. We're losing our productive workforce because of these non-communicable diseases, whether it be hypertension, diabetes, heart disease, stroke, etc., cancers. And a lot of the risk factors for these are physical inactivity, unhealthy diets, tobacco use, excessive use of alcohol or illicit drugs, fatty foods, etc. And so it is important to raise the awareness that as a country, development is good, so that we move away from the original communicable diseases. But for many of us in developing countries, we still have a double burden of disease. We still have infectious diseases, you know, like dengue fever and a lot of the other vector-borne diseases that are coming now. But we have these chronic non-communicable diseases, including mental health, including cancers, that many of these can be prevented by addressing the risk factors. And so it is important to raise awareness on that and build the capacity, promote early screening, as Ms. Robbins said, in terms of some of the activities that we're having, is about early screening, because without knowing that you have diabetes or hypertension, you know, you can do nothing about it. And in fact, many of these conditions are called silent killers because they don't always present with signs and symptoms.
And I love that you spoke on that because just last week we had Queen Halima here speaking about what was a personal story that tied in with her platform, which is non-communicable diseases, and how your father would have eventually passed away from that. These are all examples and ways that we can learn from to improve improve ourselves individually, but also our country, our region entirely. As we wrap up this segment, I'll extend a final opportunity to highlight these specific days and ways that our viewers can take part and be involved.
Okay, so in conclusion, like I mentioned, there are many, there's a long list. So I'll just highlight some of the key activities. So today we're looking at Belize, Salamares, Corozal. They're going to be looking at also special needs students of Mary Hill School, Cayo Deaf Institute, the Wellness Forum in Belmopan, Compre. Tomorrow we have things like the market in Orange Walk doing a mob show, a wellness fair in San Pedro, in Corozal. We have our Wellness Forum in Dangriga. Thursday, which is detection for cancer, an important one, we have our HPV awareness in Galanjog, HPV Forum in Corozal, Bullet Tree, TKO Farm Wellness Screening Worksite, and on Friday we have different types of physical activity and screenings happening at marketplaces in San Ignacio, Corozal, and in Belmopan or Socaton. So we encourage people to become more aware of the risk factors associated with NCDs. And as we mentioned, it's just small steps looking at screening. You know, when have you done your last screening? Do you know your numbers? What small steps you can take to try to improve your lifestyle, drinking more water, consuming less alcoholic drinks, you know, having more healthy options, more available during the week. Small steps can make a big difference.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you ladies so much for joining us this morning. It has been an absolute pleasure having this discussion, and I can only hope that we continue to have this conversation, of course, seeing results as well. So all the best to you guys.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, the conversation switches into NICH and ISCR Research Lab Series 2.0. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey Jay, ready for the first day on the job?
Man, I can't wait to get paid.
I remember when I first started making money, I loved to spend, not a thought about priorities.
Life was good, huh?
Boy, life got tough. Bills started to pile up and I didn't have money for the more important things.
So what did you do?
Jay, everything changed when I started to budget.
Budget? Can you tell me what is budgeting?
Alright, well you see,
A budget is a plan on how to spend your money. Budgeting helps you prioritize your spending and plan for the future. To create a budget, tally up your salary and any other funds coming in. Next, list your expenses. This includes rent, utilities, groceries. Be sure to include savings, no matter how big or small. Now, deduct expenses and savings from your income. What's the balance? Are there areas where you can cut back? Review your budget regularly and adjust as needed.
Oh, now I see the importance of budgeting. I need to make a plan before I start spending.
good move Jay. This is how you position yourself for financial security now and in the future.
Take control of your financial future. Start budgeting today. A message from the Central Bank of Belize. Visit us at www.centralbank.org.bz.
Unwrap the joy of crystal clear picture and sound from Iowa, the brand that offers you affordability and exceptional quality. Iowa has a wide range of exceptional products to choose from, such as TVs, speakers, headphones, home appliances, and much more at affordable prices that won't break the bank. Enhance your audio-visual entertainment experience with Iowa, and for your convenience, parts are readily available in country for hassle-free maintenance. You can find Iowa products at your local electronics store countrywide. Choose Iowa, the best in home entertainment and household appliances.
My name is Leomar Langzert and I'm a teacher and I bank with Belize Bank Independence Branch. What I enjoy is to see if the features that the app offers. I have a sense of not having to worry or be concerned about somebody finding my password and username to sign in the application because of the use of the one-time password. And another feature that I love, that I use the most, is how the app synchronizes with my fingerprint on my device. I enjoy the rapid and easy, seamless process to apply for loans through the Belize Bank, and I don't have to be having too much back and forth to visit or take time to visit the bank. They also start to offer the online applications through the app for loan applications, which I believe is very neat. I would definitely recommend Belize Bank to other teachers because one of all the features and advantages that the app offer. With these online that Belize Bank offered is basically everything that you can do in the palm of your hand. So I would definitely recommend the bank to other teachers.
Welcome back, guys. We are having our final conversation this morning, and as we mentioned, we'll be discussing NICH and ISCR's Research Lab Series 2.0. We have here with us this morning Giovanni Pinello, and he is the Senior Research and Education Officer representing ISCR and NICH. And joining him is Delmer Zib, and he is a history lecturer and coordinator for Indigenous Language Institute with the University of Belize. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning,
and
gentlemen.
Welcome.
Good morning, thank you.
I always look forward to these types of segments because it's surely an opportunity to educate ourselves as hosts, but of course our viewers as well. Let's talk about the Research Lab Series 2.0, what it is, perhaps 1.0, what that was, and why we're jumping into the second phase.
You want to start or should I?
Yeah, you.
Let's begin with you, Delmer.
Well, I think one of the important things about Belize is that we have a lot of research happening, but there are two issues. One, how do you share the research that is happening? Some of it is happening by foreigners, actually being done by foreigners. One of the issues is how do you share that knowledge? And two, I always say that there are issues of translation. Translation not in the sense of language, but translation from academic language to knowledge that can be consumed by the general public.
Palatable to our viewers.
So in this case, the Research Lab Series basically is a collaboration between the Institute of Social and Cultural Research and the University of Belize, where we're creating spaces, virtual spaces in this case, where we're using Zoom and other outlets to share research. So we have a number of researchers that are doing research in Belize. They have to get a permit from the Institute of Social and Cultural Research, and a way of connecting them is to have them do presentations connected to the students at the University of Belize about whatever research they're doing on Belize. So you're talking about topics from history, anthropology, to sometimes even climate change and environmental issues. And the whole idea here is that we tackle those two specific issues that I mentioned earlier, which is how do we have whatever data has been gathered being shared with our Belizean population, and secondly, how do we make it consumable to our market, right? So that's really what we've been working on. It's a part of a series of collaborations that we've had along with the Institute of Social and Cultural Research. But the whole idea behind this is to inspire the youth, inspire the Belizean population to continue doing research and continue questioning. The whole idea also is not only to present the data, but to inspire people to say, well, you know, I connect to this in some way, but I also am very curious about this other aspect, and that's how we continue fomenting investigation, which is very important for our national development.
I love that you bring that up, Delmar, because it was just last week that I had a sit down with Mr. Pinello speaking about the fact that when searching for persons with information, historians, just to put it informally, we oftentimes find ourselves speaking to the same individuals, and that is because there seems to be sort of disinterest from, I guess, young people in general when it comes to this type of work. Would you say that, Mr. Zib? I mean, you represent a university. Do you find a growing number of young people interested in knowing about the past?
Well, I think I have a bias. I'm a historian, so I have to say I have a bias from the onset. I do think that we have to be more aggressive in creating ways and avenues of connecting to the young people. That has been sort of my life work to an extent. Actually, right now I'm working on a project where we are creating a superhero. It's like a comic book based on history, probably I'll come back and talk about that later
Yeah,
on.
you
But the whole idea is to, along with a colleague, we're working on creating a superhero that would go through the phases of colonization relating to the Maya in particular, northern Maya. But a superhero that will live through all of these epochs, if you want to call it that way, and at the same time connect historical data for people to consume. So the whole idea is that we have to be innovative in this progressing world as well. Technology is part of the equation now. People are inclined to TikTok and these other media outlets. So we have to also do that at the same time, ensuring that we maintain a balance with academic rigor to ensure that we are also putting things that are of quality out there.
Yes.
Let's get your perspective, Mr. Pinello, in terms of the work that ISCR is doing to achieve this end.
Certainly. As you know well, NICH and its 4 branches are mandated to ensure that information, historical, social, economic, anthropological, in all these fields be made available. And so as part of that mandate, the Institute for Social and Cultural Research teams up with several institutions, in this case with the University of Belize. But there are also academics from abroad who come to Belize. And so the ethic and the emic aspects of getting the information out are taken into consideration. For us, one of the mandates, and one of the things that we have to agree is that in the past, people would come, especially from abroad, do their research here, present their findings to their universities, get their degrees, and what does Belize get back? Mm-hmm. So now, under the mandate, under Chapter 331 of the Laws of Belize, the Institute, particularly ISCR, is charged with ensuring that that information stays in Belize, returns to Belize, and is disseminated to our public. So along those lines then, we find ways of getting the younger generation to also become involved. Another of the forums that we have is this particular one, the Research Lab series, which kicked off last year with Dr. Ando Feio, the discernment of truth, looking at records, historical records from the Archives Department, which is another of our partners, the Belize Archives and Record Services, as well as the Belize National Library Services and Information Systems. And along those lines, we find ways to collaborate, particularly with the students at UB and other institutions. Recently, a lot of the work that we have been doing is now available on Access 501. As you're well aware, the Ministry of Education, Culture, Science, and Technology have been able to ensure that all levels of our educational and the general public have access to information. So that history then, in and of itself, yes, just like Delmer, I do have a bias. History is what we thrive on because it's very important. And so we've been able to ensure that there are avenues of information where the stories that our elders, the stories that our young generation is going through at the same time are able to showcase, are able to provide that info.
Admittedly, both of you gentlemen, excuse me, admittedly both of you gentlemen are history buffs, right? How do you get young people to engage in the knowledge of their country through a historical lens? How do you get that engagement and how do you keep that momentum going?
Well, for me, one of the approaches that I think is very effective is doing history. Mm-hmm. Really, I think there is a misunderstanding that history is just this theoretical debate and you just read, you just analyze, and you just write. But really, when you take a look at the collaborations that we've been having, we've had a poster series about educating about different topics. We've had exhibits. We've had students filling up databases about national and regional projects. Going to the archives is going to the archives is not only about going to research as well, but it's also understanding how the archives work. Having experiential learning to me is very critical. Yeah. In other words, I can speak to you about some records, but it's another thing for you to hold it, read it, and be able to analyze it. And I also think that we need to have more discussions on nationally and perhaps regionally on what is the importance of history for national development. Why is it that this is relevant? Why is it that we keep talking about it? And also, how is it that history and the social sciences on a whole contribute to creating, again, global, national citizens that are rooted in Belize, right? People that understand that this is your country and you should be working for it. But to go back to your question, my short answer to it is by doing history, really.
You know, gentlemen, I'm here thinking that we are speaking of the importance of young people understanding the values of embracing history, but I'm also thinking of even our adults that are here. In this month of national celebrations, we tasked ourselves of going out on the street and asking simple questions about you know, our national symbols, things that we were taught in primary school. Each and every one of us were taught. And you would be shocked to know the simple things that the general public still struggles to remember, their national anthem. Let's talk about what happens when you don't recognize the importance of our own history here in Belize. What is the worst case scenario?
Yeah. Let me turn it in this way. One of the efforts that we do, because we do understand that there's a challenge for the general public to get that information and to really connect with the realities of what they have been learning in primary school. So one of the things that we do at ISCR, for example, is to participate in many of the activities that other organizations have throughout the country. For example, recently we had at the Yellow Ginger Festival, for example, featuring the East Indian heritage. Our colleagues were out there. We set up booths. We have games. During Emancipation Day, we had a game with a spin the wheel. And likewise, we had some of these trivia questions. And the engagement that we got, in as much as there were instances where the participants were unable to come up with an answer, but by prodding them, you find that they are able to make some form of connection. Now that in and of itself, we realize creates a challenge. And the challenge is there, who am I? Who will tell me what my country's history is like, my community history is like? Right, and so that element then, it's more in finding a way to engage the young population. So the creation of, while we have a challenge with hard copy books, we realize that there is the media, the social media. And so, for example, NICH, in its 4 branches, often have posts on Facebook, on Instagram, and so on. And so we have other ways of engaging people. We're looking at the creation of games and having individuals, especially during festivities where we have larger crowds, can also participate in. So it's really a challenge if we are not able to connect with our story. Our identity tends to get marred because we begin to imitate that which is never ours. And we won't understand that which is not ours if we can't understand that which we have. So the challenge is there, and forums like these, in fact, your program in particular, as well as other medias, are able to help us to meet the challenge, to create that knowledge of our stories.
Yes. All right, well, gentlemen, as we wrap up this conversation, let's go back to the lab research that is set to take place, or is it currently ongoing already?
So the lab series is really, we identify a series of researchers that will be presenting for the year. Tomorrow we have one actually that is happening. It's a very interesting, in fact, I encourage you to attend. It's a very interesting take or a look at the history of sort of how history and social studies has been taught throughout the history of Belize, and looking at if there were changes when we gained our independence from colonial times to independence, and how that impacts really how we view our nation. So that's a very important discussion. It is being hosted by Dr. Ida Ramirez, right? Ramirez is her?
Yes, she'll be the presenter. Dr. Ida Ramirez, she is with a French university. And as one, just like Dr. Ramirez Romero, we have several persons in Belize who are carrying out research in various communities, and their commitment upon the attainment of a license to carry out the research is to present their information back to Belize. So Dr. Ramirez will be presenting tomorrow. Our viewers can always be on the lookout for the link to the pages.
Yes, it was there on screen.
Right. And I know that upcoming too, we will have Dr. Alicia McGill. She did some work in Crooked Tree. Again, looking at history, identity, navigating in the school systems. We've had other presenters who, in keeping with their commitment to make sure that what their findings have come to be are presented throughout the country. For us at the Institute, and as our viewers can see, we go out, we do a lot of the field work, and then we find ways of integrating it. We collaborate with UB students. In particular, we've had presentations abroad about Belize. You know, making sure then that Belize is visible beyond the national symbols that people may recognize outside, beyond what our tour guides are able to tell. There are other stories. And so the voice of people telling us what Belize has been, what we're going through, and understanding the present then has a forum. And as I had mentioned before, a lot of this now is available on Access 501, that collaboration with the ministry.
Yes. So the registration is currently open for persons interested?
Yes.
It is,
All right.
and it is free of cost.
Okay, I was going to ask
And
that.
I think it's also worth mentioning that there is a recording on it. It's posted on YouTube.
Okay.
So if you are unable to make it tomorrow, then you can always go back and view it. And also, so is the case for the previous presentations that have happened. So there are some very interesting topics, there's a wide range. So your interest, I'm sure, if you view the videos, you will get captured by one of those topics or presentations. So, and this is ongoing. So we are going to have more presentations happening. And it's also, and I think Mr. Pinella and I were talking on the way, and we were saying, like, you know, it's also, if you have a paper that is, you know, academic research that you would like to present, that you feel other people should hear or learn about, then, you know, this is a forum also that can serve that purpose.
Okay, and if persons would like to do something like that, how can they reach out, or who do they speak to?
Well, our links are available on the NICH page.
Okay.
And you can actually go to the resources at nichbelize.org and carry on to resources. You will have the links as well as the contact us on the page. And let us know what you have. We will assist in creating it in such a way that it is, as Delmer had mentioned, that our people can get to understand it. Because academic language is one thing, but bringing it to the general public is very important. And so we are here to assist in whatever way possible. We look forward to our own Belizeans, because in the Research Lab series, we have a number of Belizeans who have been presenting. Dr. David Gomez, for example, has another, and that's in collaboration with another organization, the Belize National Historical Society. So there are groups, there are forums, and we find, and we're grateful that there are these opportunities to share that information about Belize to the general public.
Mr. Pinello, Mr. Zib, thank you so much for joining us. It has been a pleasure, and we wish you guys all the best. All right, we are going to take our final break, and when we come back, we wrap up. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
is what you've been waiting for. In this corner, we have the masters of limitless power and unbeatable connections. Pioneers of 4G LTE in Belize. It's the undefeated champion, Smart. And in the other corner, struggling to keep up, it's the other guy. Fight! Tired of getting blow after blow from a plan with the other guys? It's time to tap out and join the winning postpaid plan provider. Smart's postpaid plans are a total knockout to the competition, and they have once again powered up their postpaid plans. Sign up for one of Smart's boosted postpaid power plans today and experience the victory of superior service. Smart, bringing people together.
Remember, not all light bulbs are created equal. Our lighting department offers a wide assortment of light fixtures and accessories to suit your style. So stop in today and get the right illumination for your homecation. And don't forget your B-Box when you make a purchase. Benny's, quality and savings.
My name is Nayeli Yakab. I'm the coordinator of the Bank House of Culture NICH. Before the Belize Bank online service, I had to travel to San Ignacio because we don't have a Belize Bank branch in our community. Now with the service, I can conduct my transactions at the office, at the comfort of my home, just anywhere in the world. It has made my life much easier. I would recommend the Belize Bank digital services to everyone and anyone. It gives you back your time, it's highly reliable, it's available 24/7, and it just makes your life easier.
Welcome back, and thank you for sticking with us. We had 3 wonderful conversations this morning. We want to say thank you to all the folks who joined us, the Commissioner of Police, the folks speaking about Caribbean Wellness Week, and even our last conversation with representatives from NICH and the University of Belize talking to us about an upcoming research presentation. It is September 24th, and we want to say a happy birthday to this little cutie on screen. Happy birthday to Zalia Perez, coming to her from her friends and family. She is so adorable. Looks like she's celebrating her first birthday, a little September born. So happy birthday to you, Zalia. And if there's anyone else celebrating a birthday this morning or for the rest of the day as well, happy birthday to you guys too. If you'd like to give a birthday shout out like that one, or if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com. You can also catch us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ, as well as Instagram at OYE Belize. Thank you so much for joining us, and please do us a favor and join us again tomorrow when you open your eyes.
To start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open.
Have a wonderful Tuesday.
Was brought to you by Smart, bringing people together, and the Belize Bank, our country, your bank.